Alright, so independent of the issues that Season 4 Reloaded caused, the update also added some things that maybe we weren't supposed to see just yet in regards to the future. We know that we're pushing further and further into the year, and halfway through July already, we still, officially speaking, don't even know who the developer of the project releasing this fall will be for Call of Duty. Now yes, there are heavy rumors implying that it's Modern Warfare 3, a narrative sequel to this year's project, almost as if a major expansion of the game, and that it's going to be developed by Sledgehammer Games, but officially speaking, absolutely nothing has been said about the project save for a cheeky little eyes emoji in relation to a judge mentioning that a new Call of Duty would be launching in November as a part of the Microsoft acquisition trial. But that's it, making this the latest we've ever seen for a reveal of any kind of basic information in COD history. But that brings us back to the update the other day, because turns out the back-end assets for things upcoming may have teased a bit of a change in the plans perhaps for Modern Warfare 3 and what may be happening in the very near future. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you expect to happen with this upcoming event, and if you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it, as well as consider subscribing if you're new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3, X-Defiant, and other FPS content here on the channel. I'd love to have you. Finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off your order with code Espresso on things like the tubs of hype sauce, MS Melon, and hibiscus tea, as well as starter packs linked below. But that said, let's jump into it. So a little while back, we talked about this sort of general outline for what may be happening for a reveal for Modern Warfare 3. It was proposed that early August would be the set time for the reveal of Modern Warfare 3, and that potentially would be coinciding with Modern Warfare 2's Season 5. So that in mind, we could apply what we've seen in the past to sort of map things out ahead of a potential time slot. Every single update is a progressive build of the game, right? Bearing that in mind, we can also consider that each update isn't the first time that we've seen hints of things being released. Think of it almost like as a deeply rooted tree. What you see above ground is what's there in the public build available to be played, but there's still plenty of things beneath the surface that could be the dubbed roots that are yet to be really examined or out in public play. Game dev's a house of cards that with each update, there's always going to be previews of what's to come in the way of the developmental assets. That's just the way that things work. By building on for the future, you're always going to have these breadcrumb trails of what you've added in since the last update. We've seen so much stuff in the past leak out from future progressive builds like this. It's just inevitable. So a while back when we examined what potential outlook of all this could be, we said that it's very possible that Season 4 Reloaded we'd start to see the first inklings of what could be a reveal if it's truly something that was launching with or near the launch of Season 5, and sure enough, it seems like that's the case. With the Season 4 Reloaded update, the leaker Hey I'm Alex tweeted out a mention of a designation for a reveal of some kind, but strangely, in DMZ, associated with the prefixes for DMZ. So if this holds true and it's not just legacy code or it's not something misinterpreted, well, then this could be something that it shifts that focus of what we thought was going to be a Warzone reveal event, which would coincide with what we've seen in the past with both Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard, and instead shift the focus to DMZ, which might seem kind of weird, but also at the same time, like, I know that it's not the main geared mode for what's publicized and out there, but it kind of seems like Infinity Ward really cares more about DMZ than anything else. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but like that DMZ is kind of their baby here at this. Because if you've looked at what's gotten support over the years so far, MP is probably the least amount outside of Spec Ops and raids and stuff like that, which is once a season. Warzone has some stuff, but DMZ, it seems like every single update, while there may not be like new maps or anything coming to DMZ and new exclusion zones to jump into, it is something that usually every single update, there is some major gameplay change made, which is just more frequent and consistent than what we've seen with Warzone and multiplayer. So grand scheme of things, it still falls under that free-to-play Warzone umbrella, sure, but I don't know that my first guess would have been to go into DMZ for a Modern Warfare 3 reveal if that does turn out to be the case. So it's interesting that this subtle deviation could change the trajectory of how things are presented within a Modern Warfare live event. So the plans may have changed a little bit, and also kind of maybe compounding on that, thinking about it a little further, the rumor initially was that we'd see the Modern Warfare 3 reveal happen in the first few days of August, but I don't know that if I'm necessarily in that same camp of thinking that anymore, because if you think about it, Call of Duty doesn't like to cross-promote or waste promotional opportunity is probably the better way to say it. So let's just say that they did happen at the same time. They'd be promoting a Season 5 or a Modern Warfare 3 reveal, or maybe a little bit of both, but they wouldn't be able to capitalize on both of them if they were happening at the same time. Instead, I wouldn't be surprised if another change of plans happens where we see this rule of two enacted again that Activision so seems to love. This we've touched on before, before, but Activision likes to give a week for things pre-launch to hype it up, and then about a week to breathe after promoting anything else at the very earliest. And then after that week, after the launch happens, that's when, in a quick turnaround fashion, they can start building up the hype for whatever's next, something usually launching, again, 2 weeks after that first point of launch in what was promoted first. So sort of like going with ebbs and flows of promotion and marketing. So if that's the case, we could be looking at a seasonal launch on the 2nd that has its own promotion, its own push, and potentially then a reveal event a little later on, maybe on the 16th or so. That's all speculation, but it does check out with patterns that we've seen in the past. More often than not, we've seen things have those 2 weeks of spacing rather than just trying to promote multiple things at once. Again, it just takes away from the capitalization on some of those things that you can do a clear, concise marketing push rather than trying to balance 2 things at once. Now, beyond that, I'm really curious to see what else Season 5 will hold, because narratively, without a new raid, there's mention that we'd see something else, but we just don't know what that would be, and there's a pretty big gap here for what we've seen. With each season usually bringing a new piece to the story, right now, Season 5 and potentially a Season 6 is rather bare, so what that will hold, I'm curious as well. We saw the raid story did, in theory, end up. Again, we don't know what Season 5 and that classified piece of what was previewed in the Season 4 launch blog will bring along, but the raid ended kind of almost like in an El Camino style fashion for Breaking Bad fans out there. The one thing, I loved Breaking Bad, I loved El Camino, but the one thing I always felt with El Camino was that it was more so like fan service. It really didn't serve too much of a larger purpose because it just showed you what happened after. It gave a little more resolution, sure, but like you can take that out of the storyline for Breaking Bad and it really wouldn't be too much of a deterrent for the overall story progression. That's kind of how I feel with the raid and what we saw there, because the story, I mean, progressed at a snail's pace. 8 months and we stayed in the same bunker the entire time. But at the end of the final raid here, we ended up seeing that Hadir said the true Russians were coming. And that's something that if you played the campaign, there were 2 end cutscenes that did preview the arrival of Makarov and his ultra-nationalists. So that's something that you kind of arrived at the same point, just from 2 different perspectives here, or maybe adding a little more perspective to it, but it didn't really give this grand reveal of Makarov just yet. So maybe Season 5 does that, maybe the Modern Warfare 3 reveal does that, but all signs do point to Makarov from the raid and the ending cutscenes, and then also where we may be going with the campaign next. So that said, that is the slight curveball and changes here for the Modern Warfare 3 reveal and what we may be seeing a little more into the future. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. Just want to fill you guys in a little bit on the updates that we've gotten here the last couple of days. So let me know your thoughts down below. Before we wrap everything up though, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel. Code Espresso gets you 30% off your entire order on certain things like Hype Sauce, MS Melon, and Hibiscus Tea Tubs, as well as starter packs here in the month of July. So if you guys want to grab a restock or try it out for the first time, now is as best a time as any. Link below, and again, Code Espresso gets you up to 30% off. But that said, that's what we're gonna call it. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3, X-Defiant, and other FPS content here on the channel. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.